The movie begins at the height of World War II, 1944. In Amsterdam, Netherlands, Riphagen and one of his associates find a Jewish woman in hiding. However, he informs the woman, Esther Schaap, that he wants to help her and other Jews in hiding, but she has to be honest with him. During the Second World War, Riphagen was able to profit in cooperation with the German occupiers as an untrustworthy ally of the German Security Service, the SD. It was his task, together with his colleagues from the Dutch underworld, to uncover and track down Jewish property, which was to be seized by the German government. The SD commander, Willy Lages, announces to the officers that he has put up a bounty on the remaining Jews, and whoever finds them will be paid. Sometime later, Riphagen gathers some of the SD officers and states he'll pay a much higher amount if they bring the Jews to him first, but instructs they aren't allowed to keep the Jews' belongings. One of the officers isn't pleased and leaves while they're taking a group photo. After the photo, one officer gives him the location of a Jew family in hiding for extra money. Afterward, Riphagen chases after him and hints that he is helping the Jews, but it still isn't revealed to the officer yet. That officer is a young Dutch man named John, and he is actually part of the resistance that is led by his best friend, Gerrit van der Veen. They are able to sabotage the Nazis' agendas by posing as Nazi officers and taking away hundreds of files from a Nazi printing headquarters. Jan is very valuable to the resistance because of his position as a policeman in the SD during the Nazi occupation. The resistance group also makes fake identification cards to help their efforts in sabotaging the Nazis and collaborators. A woman named Betrayal, whose parents are already in a concentration camp in Poland, is apprehended by authorities at a train station. She is threatened with deportation to the concentration camps unless she helps Riphagen and the Nazis with information on resistance members and Jews in hiding. Riphagen and his associate visit the place where the Jew family are hiding, and they indeed find them in there, which turned out to be their own house. Riphagen compliments the father of the family in their trickery and states he wants to help. Riphagen treats Esther with hospitality, and to further prove he's an ally, he gives her a receipt for some of the diamonds he confiscated from her on their first encounter. Riphagen states that he had to give the SD the rest of the diamonds to not attract attention and promises to give her back after the war. Esther is astonished by his kindness and asks why he's helping her, to which he answers that he lived in Germany before the war and married to a Jewish girl. He claims he wasn't able to save her, and hence the reason he's doing this. Riphagen says that he has the Germans fooled into thinking he works for them, but also that it's difficult to find people he can trust. Afterward, Riphagen has his photo taken with her, eventually gaining her trust. She tells all the other Jews she knows who are in hiding that they can trust Riphagen with their valuables. Betja gives herself the alias of Bella and befriends one of John's resistance friends, Charlie. He takes her to their meeting place, where she meets the other members, including John. They grow close after talking about their respective lives. While making out in the car, she sees John's SD card. Fearing she's been caught, she abruptly leaves, and John goes home to his sleeping wife, Lena. Riphagen eventually falls in love with a local woman named Grietja, whom he meets when she is covering a work shift for her waitress sister at a restaurant that is frequented by him. Later, Riphagen buys flowers and goes over to Grietja's house. When she opens the door, Riphagen hears screaming noises in the house and asks her what's going on, and she replies that her father does that when he's drunk. So Riphagen barges in the house and confronts the man, beating him to a pulp. He offers an opportunity for Grietja and her mother to get their revenge by hitting him themselves, which they do soon after. Although brutal with others, he showers Grietja with love, and she is unaware of his true nature. Esther is no longer useful to Riphagen after he has managed to steal everything from her, and though she's introduced to him, a very competent con man, he makes sure to take pictures with the Jews he's betrayed so that he can use the photos as evidence after the war ends to prove that he was part of the resistance. Esther, still naively believing Riphagen has been helping her and her friends, requests to leave Amsterdam the next day. She gives Riphagen a gold necklace with a medallion of Saint Christopher. Afterward, Riphagen hands an officer named Albert lists of the Jews with their location. Albert calls Jan and the two leave to make the arrest, and sure enough, the Jews get captured one by one with Jan witnessing the event unfold before his eyes, but can't do anything about it in plain sight. Esther waits for Riphagen the next day with a packed suitcase, but is horrified to realize she's been conned by Riphagen. Rather than be taken to a concentration camp, she commits suicide in front of Jan by stabbing herself with the sharp end of a long hair pick that she had in her hair. Meanwhile, Riphagen and Grietja move into their new, beautiful house that was stolen from its trusting Jewish owners, who were deported to a concentration camp after handing the keys over to Riphagen. They eventually get married, and Grietja thinks her husband is actually part of the Dutch resistance and is helping Jews by keeping their money and property safe until after the war. Jan goes to the resistance base with his hands still covered in Esther's blood and seems in great despair. Betja is also there at the moment and goes over to talk to him after realizing that he is not really a part of the SD, whereafter she kisses him. Back in Jan's house, his wife Lena advises him to to give up trying to save the country, stating that the Germans have won. She tells him he can't change the world by himself. Sometime later, Riphagen is brought to Lagos, where he is informed that his license is revoked and he's under investigation for confiscating a German property for himself. Riphagen gets back at his house and tries brainstorming to get out of the situation. So Riphagen goes to Betya, planning to have her betray the resistance group, which can help him end his investigation. Eventually, Betya is pressured into betraying the group and lures some of the members into a trap, claiming it's a new hideout. Shortly after, they all get brutally killed by the SD. Afterward, she is again compelled to give up the rest of the members by Riphagen. So, she goes to the main base and makes up a story about Charlie and some others being taken away to the police station and asks the group to rescue them. The group discreetly make their way inside the station with the help of Jan, wearing his SD uniform. Jan gives them the keys to the cell, narrowly escaping the death set up in the process. Like the others, they also get murdered, while another member, Fritz, also manages to escape the trap, as he was the driver, and realizes something is wrong as soon as he hears the gunshots. When Jan sees all of the members killed and brought out, Betya emerges, and Jan realizes she is a traitor, as well as realizing Riphagen was a part of it upon receiving a reward from Albert, who states it's from Riphagen. Meanwhile, Riphagen takes a picture of the scene, with Jan looking at him. Riphagen, along with his wife, head to a bank in Luxembourg to safely store all the jewelry and other valuables he stole from the Jews, with the photos he took with them as well. When they get back home, the couple are visited by Betya, who tells Riphagen that Lagos threw her out after getting what he wanted, and she needs her ID back to go to Rotterdam, her hometown. Riphagen gets furious and slaps Betya several times before she blackmails him by saying his wife will know about his true identity. So, he complies to her wishes and looks for her ID when Grycia comes over asking him who she is. He tells her she worked for the SD before they fired her and that she's confused. Moments later, Riphagen hands Betya her ID and threatens to kill her family if she ever shows up again. Before she leaves though, Betya tells him she noticed his wife is pregnant. Jan goes into hiding, but the war is nearing an end, and after hearing an incorrect announcement on the radio that the Netherlands has been liberated by the Allies, he comes out of hiding. He is intent on bringing Riphagen to justice. A new group of resistance fighters, headed by a man named Wim Sanders, seeks vigilante justice against Dutch collaborators. Fritz is a part of Sanders' group. Riphagen flees Amsterdam after the Allies take over, for the reason that he's suspected to be one of the traitors, leaving his wife and child. After some time, Jan discovers his location and goes over to kill him at night. Jan manages to hit him in the chest and leg, believing he finished the job, and flees the scene. Albert gives Jan the death certificate a few days later, but it is later revealed that Riphagen is still alive. A man called Eindhoven, who is the superior of Sanders, visits Jan and seeks his help in fighting the communists of the country as their new goal. However, after discovering Riphagen is still alive, Jan asks Eindhoven for his arrest, but he tells him his death is already confirmed, so it isn't a problem anymore. Enraged, Jan starts tracking down Riphagen on his own, but he always manages to escape being caught. Riphagen comes back to see his family, where he discovers his son is born and named Robbie. Grycia convinces him to turn himself into Sanders and prove his innocence. Sanders hides Riphagen in an undisclosed safe house while he investigates whether he's innocent or not. Riphagen tricks Sanders into making him believe he's innocent by once again threatening Betya to state she never knew him, as she is the only witness to proving him guilty. After the war, Jan is even more determined to bring Riphagen to justice. However, it's complicated by Riphagen's unbelievable good luck in avoiding being caught, his great skill of convincing and conning others, and his physical strength and ruthlessness. Eventually, Jan gets Betya to confess the truth, and that Riphagen threatened to kill her parents. Grycia refuses to believe the truth about her husband, but eventually, Jan is able to convince her when he notices the St. Christopher gold necklace she is wearing. Jan shows her a picture of Esther wearing it, and she finally realizes the truth. In the end, though, Riphagen continues to have the devil's good luck even when he is finally caught by Jan. Riphagen is able to overpower Jan, despite Jan having a gun, and ends up killing him by putting him in a chokehold. The movie ends with short text summaries about what happened to the real characters of the movie. Wim Sanders never returned to the world of intelligence. He died in 1995 after a successful business career. Louis Eindhoven remained head of the intelligence service until 1961. He died in 1979. Betya was charged with the death penalty. She was sentenced to life in prison. In 1958, she was released. She died in 2006. Lagos was sentenced with the death penalty, which the Queen never assented to. He was released for health reasons in 1966 and died in 1971. Grycia moved in with Fritz Kerkhoven. Robbie's stepfather was a resistance hero. Andries Riphagen took refuge in Argentina. He became a personal friend of Juan and Evita Perón. He advised them on the organization of the Secret Service. In 1988, the Dutch authorities issued an arrest warrant against him, but Riphagen had already died in 1973 in a private clinic in Switzerland. He never saw his wife and son again. And And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.